How do people become narcissists? 5 shocking ways. The most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out for himself, without regard to the prevailing superstitions and taboos. H.L. Mencken. Narcissism is a topic that has fascinated psychologists and researchers for decades. The term narcissism comes from the Greek myth of Narcissus, a handsome youth who falls in love with his own reflection. Narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is a personality disorder characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration and a lack of empathy for others. People with NPD often display arrogant and haughty behaviors, and believe they are superior to others. While the diagnosis of NPD is relatively rare, narcissistic traits are present to some degree in most people. Understanding the causes of narcissism can help us to understand why some people develop NPD while others don't. In this video, we will explore the various causes of narcissism, including childhood experiences, genetics, trauma, socialization, and brain chemistry. Number 1. Childhood experiences. Childhood experiences are a major factor in the development of narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. According to psychologists, the way a person is raised and the experiences they have during their childhood can play a crucial role in shaping their personality and behavior as an adult. This is particularly true when it comes to the development of narcissistic traits. Children who grow up with narcissists, whether it be a parent or other family member, are more likely to develop these traits themselves. This is because they learn how to manipulate people and get their own way through mimicry. They may observe the narcissistic behavior of their parent and adopt it as their own, believing it to be an effective way of getting what they want. One of the most significant traumatic experiences that can contribute to the development of NPD is childhood trauma. This can include physical or emotional abuse, which can lead to feelings of insecurity, low self-esteem, and a need for validation and control. These feelings may manifest as narcissistic traits in adulthood. Another factor that can contribute to the development of NPD is parental neglect or abuse. Children who grow up in homes where their needs are not met or where they are subject to emotional or physical abuse may develop narcissistic traits as a coping mechanism. They may come to believe that the only way to get the attention and validation they crave is to become the center of attention and control those around them. Lastly, parental overindulgence or rejection can also play a role in the development of NPD. Children who are overindulged may develop a sense of entitlement and believe they are superior to others, while those who are rejected may become preoccupied with gaining validation and attention. Both can contribute to the development of narcissistic traits in adulthood. Number 2. Genetics. It's like a game of nature versus nurture when it comes to understanding the genetics of narcissistic traits. Some studies suggest that there may be a genetic component to developing them, while others say it's all about the environment. But one thing we do know for sure is that family history can play a role in this game. A study found that people with a family history of narcissism were more likely to display higher levels of these traits than those without such a history. This suggests that genes may influence your brain's activity, which could affect how you behave as well as what kinds of hormones are released into your system, like serotonin. It's like your family passed down the narcissism gene to you, and your brain is playing it like a pro. Another study found that there appear to be differences between the brains of people who exhibit traits associated with narcissism versus those who don't, and these differences can be seen even before birth. It's like the brain is pre-programmed to be a little more narcissistic. But before you blame it all on your genes, it's important to remember that environmental factors also play an important role in determining whether someone develops narcissistic tendencies or not. Think of it like this: your genes may give you the potential to be a great athlete, but it's up to your environment to help you hone your skills and become a pro. The same goes for narcissistic traits. Your genes may give you the potential, but it's up to your environment to help you develop them. Number 3. Trauma. If you've ever wondered how someone can become a narcissist, it's important to understand that childhood trauma is one of the most common causes of narcissism. The most obvious example of this is child abuse and neglect, which can lead to serious damage in children's self-esteem and sense of self-worth, and can also cause other mental health issues. Other types of trauma include sexual assault or rape, bullying at school or home, and domestic violence. It's important to note that not all people who experience these types of events will develop narcissistic traits. However, those who do may have been exposed to repeated instances over time that contribute significantly toward their development into adulthood. Trauma, especially childhood trauma, can play a huge role in the development of narcissistic traits. If you've ever wondered how someone can become a narcissist, understanding the impact of traumatic experiences on a person's life is crucial. Trauma can cause long-term emotional and psychological damage that can manifest as narcissistic traits in adulthood. The most obvious example of this is child abuse and neglect. When a child's self-esteem and sense of self-worth are damaged, it can lead to a host of other mental health issues, including NPD. Children who are neglected or mistreated may develop a need for validation, control, and attention as a coping mechanism. Narcissistic traits may appear as a way to protect oneself from feeling hurt and powerless. Other types of trauma that can contribute to the development of narcissistic traits include sexual assault or rape, bullying, and domestic violence. These experiences can also cause long-term emotional and psychological damage, leaving a person feeling powerless and in need of control. This can manifest as narcissistic traits. It's important to note that not all people who experience these types of traumatic events will develop narcissistic traits, but those who do may have been exposed to repeated instances over time that contribute significantly to the development of these traits into adulthood. Number 4. Socialization. The socialization of a child is one of the most important factors in determining whether they will become a narcissist. Narcissistic parents often have unrealistic expectations of their children and are very controlling, critical, and demanding. This can lead to low self-esteem in children who turn into narcissists as adults. Many narcissists come from families where both parents are narcissistic, or at least one parent has traits of this personality disorder, NPD. In some cases, only one parent has NPD, and their behavior causes the other parent to become angry or depressed, which then affects how he or she raises his/her child. In addition to being raised by controlling parents who put them down all the time with harsh words or criticism. Some people also experience stressful events early on in life, such as abuse at home or bullying outside school grounds by peers who make fun of them because they look different than everyone else around them, due perhaps having red hair instead black hair like everyone else does. So these kinds of experiences may cause someone who might otherwise not have developed into becoming an adult narcissist later down road after graduating high school, graduation, college graduation, etc. Number 5. Brain chemistry. It's a well-known fact that narcissism is a mental disorder, but what people don't know is that it can also be a trait, and even then, it's not always negative. So how do you know if your friend or coworker has narcissistic tendencies? It depends on how they act in certain situations. People with narcissistic personalities tend to have low self-esteem, which causes them to seek out other sources of validation for their self-worth, like money. They might also be more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, and substance abuse than those without these traits. This may sound like bad news at first glance. However, there are some positives. Research has shown that people who score highly on measures of narcissism tend to have higher levels of creativity than others. As we can see, there are a variety of ways that someone can become a narcissist. The important thing is to recognize when you're dealing with one and then find ways to protect yourself from the harm they may cause. And that's it from this video. See you in the next one.